Hi and good morning, it's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. This is going to be one of the two videos that I'm going to do today. The second one is more to do with pole shift. It's looking at some data that we've received from one of our superstars down in Perth, Australia. As you know, Jeff, he usually flies away for a couple of weeks at a time for work, and when he returns he usually sends us a packet of data, or we get the Muon readings. So he's told me he's off back to work for the next couple of weeks. When he returns he'll send us the Muon count for that period of time. So big thanks to him anyhow, and I'll be uploading that onto the website, that data that Jeff has sent us from his magnetometer. A couple of things I wanted to talk about other than that. I'll just briefly mention a couple of other things that's been going on in the observatory. Hong Kong's data has not come through for a few months. That's because one of our superstars down there in Hong Kong, Tony, has had a fault come up on the magnetometer. I did suggest just resetting it, formatting the SD card. That hasn't cured it. So I think rather than over a course of emails I suggest different things, I think the best thing was what I suggested is just send that one back to me and I'll get another one out to you as soon as I can. So that'll be taking place in the next few weeks. Also had an email from Canada, one of our superstars there, Kendall. He's told me that the Muon Detector is in Canada. It's been released by customs. It should be in his possession in the next week or so, and it's very simple to set up the Muon Detector. Just plug it in, switch it, reset the button on the back and let it do its job, and all the information, as you know, is displayed on the screen. So that's what's going on with the observatory, and if you want to join me later on just for a quick chat about the data we've got from Perth, then please do. In this video I want to talk about a couple of things. Food shortages that is merging around the world as a bit of a problem right now, and just what I'm hearing from other alternative media outlets. Some of them are people that and listen to on YouTube, and what their recommendations are for two main problems. First of all, the food shortage, which is, as we know, going to increase in the future. There is going to be a widening problem with food production, and that is because good arable land is going offline, and the added effects of climate change to that is making it difficult for farmers to get crops in and out the ground, something that they've been accustomed to doing so for a few years, for about 20 years ago, which was a routine. Now it's more of a gamble for them, because they have these one-off experiences a lot more frequently, where they will get flash floods or droughts or dramatic temperature changes. And not only that, something else that's not talked widely about is the draining of the nutrients out of the soil, and them having to artificially put the nutrients back in the soil. So we're talking about forced farming in order to get the crops out, and it damages the soils when you completely saturate them of certain elements. So there is an emerging problem. But I don't think the solutions that people are talking about, I could mention names, I'm not going to, but I don't think the solution is growing your own food. If you want to, it's a great hobby, but I will tell you a couple of problems with growing your own food, right? And this is why, I would only grow food. I do have seeds, and it would be a last resort. And let's face it, if I start tomorrow, I'm not going to get nothing for at least another 3 months. In terms of edible food, and it's for that reason that I have, for me and a few others, food set aside which will at least get me by for 3 months. And that is just like having a bug out bag, and this is why I said this is an insurance policy that we should all have, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of disasters striking. And I'll just give you, for instance, could you imagine if you'd have had 3 months worth of food and water, or something to purify water, and a bug out bag just after the large Chile earthquake hit a few years ago? You would have had a parachute for your family. And a bug out bag doesn't cost a lot, And some of the simple things you can put in there is water purification. You can add a food supply to this bug-out bag. Emergency shelter, provisions to cook food on, so an emergency cooker, and a medical kit, and a few other things, and some means of lighting fires and things like that. You know what I'm talking about. But the point is, you purchase it once, it's your insurance policy for life. You and your family's insurance policy for life. So it is, I think, essential to have those things. Those are the things that I have got, and I would recommend that you get them as well for you and your loved ones. So, there's other reasons why I don't think growing your food is the only solution. First of all, I think it's absolutely damn right selfish. Yeah. The reason why we're not hunter and gatherers anymore is because we've got an infrastructure which we've built up, and I love it. I've got to say this, I love going into the shops, and I don't have a pallet where I eat rice every day. I want a variety of foods, and these foods that are brought into the shops are imported all around the world. You would never be able to achieve the variety of what's in a shop in your allotment or in a 1 acre plot. If you was lucky to have a 1 acre plot to grow in, you'd never be able to do it. And not only that, some of the climates around the world just wouldn't support some of the foods that you want. I think it's an absolutely great idea that we've got a technological infrastructure where we import food all around the world to each of us, so that we get these varieties, and we can have a variety on our plates on the evenings with our family. And I love it, because the possibilities of meals that you can have are endless. If you're growing your own food, first of all, you've got to think about the climate suiting the varieties that you want. You've got to think about whether the soil is going to be able to support that variety. You might have to add chemicals to the soil in order for you to get out those crops. So there's a lot of reasons why it's a bad idea growing your own food, but this seems to be a common solution. This is what people are trying to tell people to do. Come on, guys, do we really want to go back 100 years? Do we want to lose the varieties on our table? There is a solution to this. We have to fix what's wrong with our system now. I'm pretty sure that you all, like me, enjoy the varieties that we have in the shops, and that how boring would it be to go back to just managing on what you've been able to grow. Some people would fail straight away. I remember I had a go when I had a little bit of a land adjoining a property I was rented. Excuse me. I had a go at growing some stuff. Some stuff was successful first time. Other stuff was just a disaster. And another thing was someone says it'd be a great idea to have chickens walking around, free range. Problem is with chickens is they like to root with their claws, and they will devastate your crops if you've got chickens amongst them. And they're also, they can be good, they can be bad. But for me, I don't know what it was. And people have all said this, June, you're crazy. There's nothing wrong with fresh eggs, but I couldn't eat a fresh egg. I had to wait about 4 days before I could eat that egg. I don't know what it was that was wrong with me. But I did notice a flavour difference, and I don't know whether that was because the eggs in the shops are around about a week old before they get into the shop, or they may have been on the shelf a couple of days longer, or what. But I was used to eating eggs from shops and not from my own chickens. And the other thing is I wasn't squeamish if I had to kill a chicken, which I didn't. The fox had most of them in the end, but I couldn't bring myself to eat the chicken. And yet, I don't know why that was, because, I've shot when I used to do hunting, and whatever I shot, I ate, by the way. I'm not one of these people that kill for sport. So if I shot a duck, I'd eat the duck. If I shot pheasants, I ate pheasants, or pigeons, And pigeons are quite good if you get the ones in rural areas. I don't know about the ones in towns and cities, how clean they are, but I know the ones out in the rural areas are eating a lot of the crops that are growing out there, so natural foods. There was something else, putting the food shortage on the side and growing your own food, I see it as a complete waste of time. And if we go back to that, I think first of all, if you're growing your own food and we are in a situation where people are starving, I think it's selfish. I think that the better idea would be form groups and grow food. And that's something that these people on YouTube and alternative media platforms are not talking about. They're talking about looking after number one. And in my view, looking after number one is where it's got us where we are today. There is too many people going out looking after number one. And, this is why, 99% of the world's wealth is held in 1% of the people's pockets. You telling me that the resources and the funds have been equally distributed? Well, the reason for that not being the case is because these people have gone clearly and solely out for themselves. I mean, there's something wrong that needs to be fixed. Yeah, I've talked about politicians. If we look at over in Russia, Vladimir Putin, over £45 billion in his personal bank account. If we look at over in the United States, you've got people like Nancy Pelosi with over £100 million in a bank account. These are people that are supposed to be paid salaries, yet for some reason have accumulated massive amounts of wealth. How have they done it? They've gone out for themselves. The way forward is to fix the problems that we've got in a great system, and we have built up a great system. It covers a lot of different ranges, but there are agricultural organisations in countries. We've got health organisations. Some of these now are merging into World Health Organisations. But what I'm saying is the infrastructure is there. It needs to be cleaned out with the rubbish. We can't have 1% of the world's population holding 99% of the world's wealth. And, we can't go back 100 years where we all start growing our own food. What next? Should we do away with cars completely and all ride horses again? Then another thing is what you're going to hear at places like Davos is, they want to reduce the amount of meat we eat. And why should we? We are predators. Our eyes certainly in the front of our heads, just like a lion. Lions are meat eaters. We are natural meat eaters, and it's a choice. For a lot of people, become a vegan or a vegetarian. You don't have to eat meat if you don't want to. I want to eat meat, and I don't want people like that go to Davos. These 99, these 1% telling me I'm in the future not going to be able to eat meat. Because I know for a fact that they will be. There's a lot of problems, guys. CO2 is a fraud. It's a stealth tax that has managed to circulate around the world now. It's changing industry. They want to ban, crude oil and coal burning power plants. But, they don't seem to have come up with something that can replace them at the same rate, which doesn't end up, coming back in the consumer's pocket, hitting them hard. It's like I say, there's a lot of problems. I don't think growing your own food is one of them. And now I'm going to move on to the second common thing that people are talking about as a solution. So first of all, the main one is they say grow your own food. Well, I think I'll give you a few good reasons why that is a bad idea, because you'll shut down your variety of food that you have. Do you want to just eat rabbit and cabbage and a few other veg for the rest of your days? Or what happens when you're craving a grapefruit? And you put that aside. The second one, the second biggest solution that people are talking about, which I completely disagree, and I will tell you why I disagree with it, is protesting. It's bad for a lot of reasons. It's bad for your pocket. You've got to pay to get to where the protest is going to be organised. If you're the organiser of the protest, you're going to be fined over £10,000, like this is the case here in the UK. When you get to the event, you're going to be classed as a domestic terrorist, taking part in an illegal activity because of the current pandemic, which is convenient for governments around the world at the moment. I think you'll agree. You've got the possibility of being hit with batons, riot shields, bullied by police officers in riot protective gear, hit with rubber bullets, gassed with tear gas, hit with water out of water cannons. Do you want to put yourself through any of this? We live in the 2021. We don't need to go to the streets and protest like that. There are other forms and methods that we can do. Like I described the other day, a great way of hitting them back, this 1% that are causing so many problems for us all around the world, is by boycotting their businesses, bankrupting them. You do it from your own armchair. It can't be any easier than that. And therefore, it's got to be one of the smartest solutions. We've got the infrastructure which we can use. With all these multimedia, alternative media platforms like YouTube, Twitter, etc., etc. A lot of us do podcasts and things like that, and we can just keep singing the same song until we do collapse the first big company, and then we do the same to the next company, one at a time, bring them down. And you can resolve a lot of this corruptive behaviour in a very short space of time, because simply these elite rich people that are causing the damage to the infrastructure around the world will realise that if their company gets put on a list, they will go bankrupt, and in turn lose that lifestyle that they're accustomed to. And it also sends home a great big message that the people of this world, who most of us are the lowest bidders, in any case paid the lowest amount, have the power still to put these big tech companies, to put them to their rights, to send the message back to them that you're not going to get away with it. We've got a lot of problems, and unless we start to agree on these solutions, we're never going to fix things. I don't think growing your own food and being a selfish person is the solution. We've heard this now for many years on YouTube and certain channels. Grow your own food, produce your own meat. Do you understand how fast, if there was a collapse, which I doubt is ever going to happen, but if there was a collapse where something really, really, really went bad, do you realise how much of a target you'd have painted on your back, on your family's back, if everybody in your community knows that you're growing food? Think about it. In a world where the majority of people don't have, and you're all of a sudden in a world where you have, strength in numbers soon comes around, and you might think, well, I can arm myself, and can defend myself, and I'm in a little community. No, it's just not realistically going to happen, is it? What we need to do is keep the infrastructure that we've got, keep the technology that we've got, even improve the technology so that it makes it more stronger for us to hold on to this luxury of having shops like we've got right now, where we've got the variety of foods, and we don't have to just eat rice or chicken with rice, or maybe greens with rice and a bit of chicken. I don't want to live in a world like that. It's too boring for me. One night I want a piece of gammon, and I want a bit of pineapple on that gammon with my chips and peas. The next night I might want fish and chips. The next night I might want a steak, and some asparagus and a nice Diane sauce to go with that, and a couple of new boiled potatoes. That's what I want, a variety of food. And I'm not going to get that if I'm growing it in my own back garden, because just to have those things that I've talked about, I've got to go to the coast for the cod, I've got to grow my own potatoes and asparagus, I've got to raise my own cows and chickens and whatnot. Can you imagine the space you need just for the few meals I mentioned there? Okay, we really need to, for the sake of time now beginning to run out for us, decide on a course of action. I think you'll agree with me, protesting is not the way forward. I think there are a lot of downsides to growing your own food, and obviously the variety is something that you're not going to have. I think you'll agree with me that having a bug out bag is a great idea. Having a 3-month food storage and water supply for your unit is a parachute that none of us should be without. So first and foremost, that's what we need. But time is ticking. The net is closing in on us all globally, and we need to do something about the corruption and the levels of the wickedness and selfishness and greed in this world. We've got a great infrastructure which is being abused by a lot of people, and it could be a lot better. 90% of the money that is raised in taxes is not going back on the infrastructure or back to improvements for us all. It's going in the back of these people's pockets, and these too big to fails bailouts. There are solutions which are better than growing your own food, better than being beaten up by police officers in the street and tear gassed. One of those, I'm just putting it out there, one of those is boycotting. And at the moment, me and a few other like-minded people are boycotting Amazon. We want to bring that company down to its knees, destroy it completely. And I will tell you now, I will get a kick out of that, because that company is a mean company that pays its staff the lowest. Even stole the tip money off them. They was fined 60 million the other day, and I don't care whether the CEO of Amazon has just resigned and another one will take over. That company is still going to be, treating people horribly, and it is a symbol to all the other companies out there that if we can take that down, we can take any company down. Putting the power back in the people's hands. That's what I want to do. But we need to all agree on it, and there is a big problem with getting majority of people to agree on these things, because we all have individual ideas. Some people, when they heard me the other day in the comment section, they said just boycott everything. A lot of people agreed with me, let's boycott Amazon. I say let's just boycott one for now. Let's make it a world task for everybody to boycott Amazon around the world, and we'll shut that company down, and then we'll get a website together and we'll announce the next one that's going to get took down. We can get a bit of momentum going, but first of all we all need to agree on the course of action. But I think we're already at the point of agreeing that there needs to be a course of action. It's just, what are we going to do as a course of action? Okay guys, I will mention the link once. I hope you do enjoy what we do at the observatory, and you enjoy some of the information topics that we talk about. And if you want to just help us out with a little bit of support, the link's down there in the description, or go over to the website and there's a donate link. It's entirely up to you. It's not mandatory. So I'll say what I usually do. You have a great day. Catch up later on with me when I announce the results from Perth, Australia, with the magnetometer data that we've got, and I'll say what I usually do. Take care of your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.